Why have I quit my job? Why have I, bought a van? And why am I going to drive around the country? Well, I'm passionate about the idea that you need to be heard. And I want to stitch these stories together across the states. We're going to find the commonalities, and it's going to be really an amazing experience, and I look forward to you joining me on the jar. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Mental Health Today. It's your host, Ken Stearns, and it's a beautiful day here in California. I've been spending a bit of time here since Thanksgiving, taking a pause from what you just saw as the jar, and taking a little bit of reflection time on some of the beautiful stories, personal journey stories I hear of people's intimate parts of their lives. And so back to this desk doing the Mental Health Today show, and this is really, articulating what I saw on the road was mental health. That's a common theme among the 300 people, and really starting this show as an opportunity to bring really interesting people to you who are doing something in the mental health space. And their journey of getting in there is always like a little bit of a hook for me. And then really spending a lot of time finding out what they're doing, what they see in the mental health crisis space. What are we not doing enough of? What are we doing too much of? And so Peggy and I were chatting offline, and the fun part was we didn't get into any of that really. So I'm kind of excited. I'm going to be just like you, the listener, and an opportunity to hear Peggy's story. She was a finance person, and I kind of laughed and said she opened door number 3 for some reason, and I want to hear what that story was, and then find out what she's doing in the mental health space. And Peggy, thanks for being a guest. Thanks for taking time out of your evening
Yes.
on the east side of Canada.
Yeah, exactly. And thank you so much, Ken, for the invitation. And it's a pleasure to be with you. I'm happy to hear you had the nice weather in California. We had snow today in Toronto. So, different experience of life. That's
for
life.
sure.
But thank you so much for hosting me. It's really a pleasure.
As I said, you maybe tell us a little bit about your initial career, and kind of how did you end up in this space? And that's the magic for me.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure you can hear I'm from France originally. I moved to Canada 20 years ago.
Okay.
Yes. The accent is not French Canadian. It's French. And
I thought it seemed a little different.
yeah, it is. And as you mentioned, my background's in finance. So I used to be a banker working in large banks, large organizations for many years. And then I turned venture capital. And I did that also for many years. And a few years ago, I opened door number 3, which is psychedelics. And yes, it might be a weird transition to go from finance to fungi, technically, because
I love that.
yes, it's not from me, so that's why I'm saying it with a big smile. I didn't invent it, so I just taking the credit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, oh yeah, I love it. And basically, like many people in the psychedelic space, I'm sure you see a lot of that in your journey. It's coming from my own personal interest
Yes.
and my own personal journey with mental health. And during the pandemic, like many people, I realized that oddly enough, I never realized I had mental health issue before that. So, that's the beauty. Talk about lack of self-awareness, and I realized that I had, high level of stress. Obviously, when you're in finance, nothing
Yes,
extraordinary,
sure.
but also anxiety, PTSD, and depression.
Oh.
So, and it was getting very difficult, and I had 2 doors to stay on the door analogy. I had the traditional door, which was
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
go take prescribed drugs if
Yes.
you want to feel better. And I was really not keen on that because I knew many people who had taken prescribed drugs. And for me, it was more hiding the symptoms than really, doing anything. And I have to say, my trust in the healthcare system is not necessarily at an all-time high either. So I don't necessarily think that big pharma has my best interest in mind. So I was not extremely enthused by that door, but I thought,
Mm.
I might have no choice. And then I did a lot of research and I'm like, oh, door number two, psychedelics. What is that? And did tons of research and started microdosing psilocybin. Saw tremendous results for myself. Was still working in finance, but I used to write a newsletter for investment in technology. That was my bread and
Oh, okay.
and after I started microdosing psilocybin, I took a leap of faith because I was so happy with the results and I thought it might help other people. So I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
I'm going to talk about my experience microdosing
Yes, yes.
psilocybin with my audience. And I've never had so many people reaching out to me with questions, excited, interest, da 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 da. And I was like, oh, interesting. There's something there. And then I started talking more about, investments in psychedelics and here and there, talking a bit more about that. And I can see people being very interested. And then I went out west to do a psychedelic journey. So trips, ceremonies where you take a
Okay. Yes, yes.
large dose. And
Mm.
same thing, I came back, I wrote about that. People were like, asked. And the questions, what's interesting is that the questions were never on social media platform. Huh? It was text, it was emails, it was phone calls, it was direct messaging, but people didn't want to write, on LinkedIn.
Yeah, yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
And then I decided, you know what? The results I'm seeing with psychedelics are unbelievable. By then, I had put so many people on it that I could see tremendous results. I had also started building my
Uh,
protocol, the microdose diet, which is a combination, yeah,
I love it.
a combination of tools, including microdosing diet. So I thought, you know what? I stopped my world, my business world of finance, and I took a plunge and started my new business, the microdose diet. So that's how I got to door number three.
Wow. I, very interesting that, I could see your credibility within the industry and as a person, right? A serious person, serious
Yeah,
banker, serious executive, probably, probably stitched together some crazy deals. And if you start writing about something so on the fringe, but with conviction, people will
exactly.
start to like, and I could totally see, I would not like on the bottom of a LinkedIn. No, I'm going to go to your DMs and ask you, is this real? What are you doing? Like, what happened? Tell
Exactly.
me the story.
Yeah.
People are so curious about it.
Yeah. And you know what? It's people are curious because they're struggling. You're not curious about
Yes.
something you don't need. Rarely, unless you're very
But
intellectually curious. But
yeah, yeah,
y-
yeah. Right. I didn't think of that. You looking for something, right?
exactly. So people were just like, "Oh my God,
Ah.
she was able to increase, her level of happiness.
Hmm.
You decrease anxiety, you decrease stress, you decrease depression, PTSD. Of course, your mood is uplifted. But at the same time, I was also talking about how much my performance increased, focus, creativity,
Ah.
memory.
Yes.
So people were just like, okay, I want to have what she's having because I want to have that smile on my face. And if I can work 2 hours less every day, well, please sign me up. So
Yes.
that
Yes.
was really, really appealing to people. But I have to say, most people are interested for the mental health angle more than
Yeah.
the performance and focus. They're happy to get that, very, very happy, but it has not been the main
Mm.
drivers of the people who reached out to. Let's be honest.
Do you have an idea what the mix would have been of people? Because you've, like you said, you've helped quite a few, you've steered quite a few people in the direction or educated
Hmm.
them and helped them. What percentage of those people were struggling silently, knowing that something's going on, but don't want to go, the stigma or whatever reason, don't want to go into traditional therapy. And it could be
Yeah.
they know the result. Like if I'm in therapy, there's some stigmas, et cetera, but I'm also going to end up on SSRIs, or, I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
want to end up on I don't want to be on Big Pharma's protocol. I know that will be the result, or they fear that might be the result. So you've got the
Yeah.
silent strugglers, and you've got this little beacon of light. And then you've
Yeah.
got people who really, maybe people who are in therapy and have not had, or
Exactly.
have had. So it would have been the two
Yeah.
pet camps, I guess, just really two people.
And some people might have been on therapy and medication and didn't tell me. So I can tell you
Yes.
based on what
Okay.
I've seen, let's be honest. But
Sure, sure.
I would say most people, whether they've been in therapy or on antidepressant, anti-anxiety, antidepressant, they were still suffering. So they had the same problem. But I would say
Yes.
the great majority was not on anything, no therapy,
Yeah.
no medications. But again, I'm not in their pharmacy, so I don't know if it's true or not.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
But it's a good sign. I mean, it's an interesting data point, from that this is reaching people who aren't reachable through other therapies.
Yeah, and like we discussed that a bit offline as well. Well, my audience is mostly executive entrepreneur board members, so people who are financially well off, let's be honest. But
Yes.
but we were talking about the larger population. Most people cannot afford 10 years of talk therapy, like it is
No.
extremely expensive, and expensive in money, obviously, but also in time, in mental space, so I think
Mm.
it also touches an audience that I tried therapy a couple of times, and I was just like, okay, oh my god, that thing is not going anywhere,
Yes.
like. And so I think there were also some people who did try and didn't see the results they wanted. So I think you really have a mixed bag of
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
The people like me who had no idea they had mental health issue. The people who, on the contrary, have tried. I had someone who was on anti-anxiety since she was 20, who had been in therapy for like 10 years, and still that was not making much of a difference in her life, or maybe her life would have been even worse. I don't know, but it didn't seem like
Yeah. Yeah, we don't
a
know.
fulfilling life by any stretch of imagination. Like
Yeah, this is the tough part, right? You don't really know that other side, what they were feeling, but we do see, I mean, at least from the conversations, so much instant kind of awakening, right? That first dose, whether, even if it's and I would come back to this kind of large dose, micro dose stuff, because
yes,
you've
exactly.
done you've kind of been through a lot of, all of that, as you mentioned, and also the affordability. So I'll kind of give you a couple of things to chew on.
Mhm.
One is, it's expensive to do a guided meditation trip now. So these
Extremely
programs,
expensive.
it's
Extremely expensive, but
it's
worth
ridiculous.
any penny of it. I would not take a journey for $200 with someone in his basement. Like you need, like
For sh I would
you
like
know,
to just say that right away. Please don't go do the $200 trip in the
no,
basement with
no,
with your,
no,
yeah, with the so and so. Definitely not.
exactly. You need premium products. That is
Yes.
extremely important, and that's a message I really want to
Mm,
convey to people. Premium products. And what I am supporting, if microdosing, so it's a bit different,
yes.
but if you're going in the direction of a large trip, you need to be guided by people
Yes.
who know what they're doing, and that is extremely important. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also, I think it's kinda to your point earlier about affordability, right? And most people cannot afford that.
Yeah.
So I think the microdosing thing is interesting to me because it's got a whole
Exactly.
different approach.
Exactly. And you know what? That's also why I developed the microdose diet, because it's not only microdosing psilocybin, which end up being extremely cheap,
Mhm.
because if you buy, so I'm launching my own microdosing product. So if you buy one bottle, which is 25 caps, it's
Okay.
just like little. You take one every 3 days. So it's $85 for
Ah,
75 days. So it's like a dollar a day.
yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
massive difference. And the protocol I developed in the microdose diet, the book that's going to be out in May, and the online course that's going to be out in May as well.
Okay.
It's all do it yourself.
Oh,
So
I
it's
love this.
so it's tapping meditation. You have the script, you do it yourself. It's visualization. You have a script, you do it yourself. It's exercise, it's journaling, it's all of that. So, if really financially you're in a tough spot, hopefully the book will be at the library. If not, maybe you can buy it with 2 or 3 friends, going to end up to $5. And then $1 a day for the microdosing. Well, we're talking about a very different approach
Boy, no wonder Big Pharma just hates us.
here. But
Can't
you
make
know
any
what?
first off, you can't make any profit off it anyway. But the price, right? The relative to what the real
And
drugs cost.
top top quality products. Top quality product coming from Vancouver, developed by a clinic, a combination of psilocybin with lion's mane, so it helps also your cognitive, with
Oh, really?
ginger root,
Oh.
green tea extract. So it's the Rolls Royce. It's really going in clinics. And
Oh.
and when I say $85, $85 Canadian.
And yeah, Canadian.
So it's probably $1 US a day. So that's very important to me. That is very important to me, because I think democratizing, and
Hmm,
we should discuss about the legality of that, because that's one of the challenge as well, is that today
yeah.
all of these protocols, it's not exactly legal everywhere in Canada and in the US.
Yes.
And I believe in civil disobedience. We shouldn't have to wait 15 years to have some politicians deciding that maybe we could, maybe we should, maybe we can, um, waiting for big pharma to charge us that per day. Like that's unacceptable to me. So I
Yeah.
I took I took the position of civil disobedience. That's all.
I love it. But there are large swaths of Canada that I thought it's legal to that they have retail stores now.
Oh, we have retail stores, but it's still not legal.
Ah, okay. So
Uh,
even the government's doing a little civil disobedience.
Yes. Well, sometimes they wake up and they go and they raid the shops, they close
Yeah.
the shop reopen, like it's just
Okay.
ridiculous. But technically it is not, it is decriminalized in the west coast of
Okay.
Canada, but decriminalized when it needs to be legalized anyway, all these steps.
Yeah, and we're state by state as well, and so as
Exactly.
I'm sure you're very well versed, and it's just taking time. Even
Oh yeah.
once it's legalized, even then they've got to figure out how to run the shops and what kind of protocol, because the government
Yeah.
ends up getting involved in testing and everything else.
Yeah, which is funny because you have like alcohol shops at every freaking corner that are 100% harmful to your health. But to have small quantity of psilocybin for healing, you need 15 years of legislation. I'm like, come on, like,
It's shocking to me as alcohol is the worst drug on the planet. It probably really can't be anything that we consume that's as bad for you,
yeah, and
than real alcohol.
and don't get me wrong, like I had friends over Saturday. We had a couple of glass of wine, whatever.
Sure.
I'm not I'm not anti-alcohol, but I'm also for being reasonable. In here, I
Yes.
see extreme cognitive dissonance
Y
in
the
the
Yeah, that's my point. It just doesn't make any sense.
no, No, exactly. So, and I understand the lobby, whatever. I'm not that naive. I worked in finance long enough to know that at the
Yeah,
end of
yeah,
the day, where is the money? That's the only thing that matters. Like the second you can make a business case for politicians. So, what
yeah.
is saving us? Unfortunately, is the huge mental health crisis, especially for
Okay.
veterans. And that's where psychedelics have been able to
Mm,
kind of increase greatly the number of studies, but also the number of conversations,
okay.
because the veterans' health so far, whether in Canada, the US, anywhere, has been
Anywhere.
absolutely tremendous. The rate of addiction, homelessness, alcoholism, suicide,
Suicide. Yeah.
for veterans is sky high compared to the global population. So that is what allows psychedelics to come mainstream in the conversation, but also to be supported on both sides of the aisles. You have as many Republicans than Democrats supporting psychedelics because of the veterans.
This is
So yeah,
interesting.
so that is fabulous, because something that you might have looked at as a democratic or liberal agenda, because of a veteran angle, now Republicans are
Mm.
supporting it as well. So, and that's what it is not a political issue, it's a health
Yeah.
issue. So it should not be associated with any type of color or stripes, like it's
Mm.
the best interest of the citizen.
Yeah, and I like what you said there. It's unfortunately, what's saving us is the mental health crisis. I mean, it's such a
I
powerful
know.
statement, right? Like, that's why
Yeah.
mushrooms are allowed to, or psilocybin's allowed to kind of flourish, like you said, in open violation of the law.
Yeah.
And even in the US, different places as well. I don't think no police will criminalize it. Certain states would be a little bit crazy. You wouldn't want to get arrested with psilocybin
Yeah.
in many states in the US still.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's changing quick. I mean, it's
It
changing
is.
fast.
It is changing, and what is helping a lot as well is personal stories. And
Yes.
politicians, lobbyists, they're also people. They also have a brother who has depression, a, a sister-in-law who's a veteran and who had
Mm,
tremendous issue reintegrating. We're talking about end of life care. You also have this angle where people see their parents having challenges. So a lot of that, and it's absolutely not a good reason. Let's be honest. As a politician, you should
yeah,
be
yeah, it's
above
right.
above that, but it's not the case. And so many of them are also touched by the issue of mental illness in close quarters, and
Mm.
that motivates them to support new treatments. Like it's just a way. It's a medicine. It's a
It's a
medicine.
medicine. It's a medicine. Is So tell us a little bit more about your book, or tell us, a little bit more about
Yeah.
the micro diet. How does it work? What's the
Yeah.
philosophy that you're working on?
Yeah, so the microdose diet, it's a 90-day protocol. And
Okay.
so the philosophy is really about the idea of combining multiple tools. And how in sports, for example, if you're a tennis player, just take that as an example, you're
Yeah.
going to obviously practice tennis, but you're going to also do some yoga for your flexibility. You're going to
Yeah.
eat healthy. You're not just going to, play tennis, but very much in personal development, in mental health, in anything. You have a very single-minded approach. People might just work on the mindset with one tool. So it's going to be
Mm.
meditation as a cure-all, and I'm just working on the mind. Or it's going to be someone who's obsessed with nutrition, for example, and it's just going to be nutrition, and I'm focusing on the body, which I think is not enough, because we are an entire being. So we have emotions, we have a mind, obviously, we have a body, we have a brain, we have energy, and you need to address all of that. So the microdose diet is really a thoughtful, a strategic protocol that is combining all these tools that work extremely well together, and that
Yes.
and that I know gonna work for any of us. Maybe for you, you're gonna have more benefit from journaling. Maybe me, it's gonna be tapping meditation. Maybe my husband's gonna be something else, microdosing, for example. But the combination of all of that is gonna rewire your brain, and that's what we want. Because I don't want to hide the symptoms, because
I
it's not long lasting. It's not going to give you anything. I want
yeah.
your new baseline to be one level higher and higher and higher. So that's really the philosophy behind the microdose diet. And again, because I know that people have a limited amount of money, we discuss that, but also of time, I really made it so it's 15 minutes a day for 90 days. So that is very, very simple. It's easy. It's really like, eh, I mean, ABC. You just follow. You don't
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
reinvent the wheel. And the combination is great because microdosing really help you lower your ego barrier. So it's
Yeah.
easier to come in and rewrite the program, rewrite the conditioning. So we're
Mm,
really combining the tools that microdosing is going to help you rewire better. Tapping, journaling, meditation is going to tell you with what you want to rewire. So we
I put
do a
those
lot.
thoughts. Okay.
Exactly. So we do a lot of exercise, a lot of that are not long, but 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes a day. I'm really addressing the blocks from my
Mm.
perspective. The biggest, if you're running a marathon, you want to remove 20 pounds weight at your ankle. You don't want to train 2 hours more every day. I want to remove the blocks so people run 10 times faster without
Yeah.
producing more efforts.
This where you're talking about rewiring the brain and this neuroplasticity of the brain,
Mhm.
which, was a new thing for me. I've just really only learned this in the last 6 months or so. But I wasn't aware that psilocybin was also also could help. I knew ketamine. I'd spoken to people and seen the results on ketamine, that can rewire your brain.
Yeah.
Um,
All
but I didn't know
psychedelics,
psilocybin.
all
Yeah, all psychs.
psychedelics really. So if you're thinking about
Okay.
LSD, MDMA, they all have this ability to really
Oh,
lower, because it kind of lower your conscious mind. So it's way easier also to access and kind of create all this new little connection. And but also what's interesting with that is we tend to forget that mental health equal longevity. So, and you know what? Psychedelics, we know we knew that already in the 60s, 70s is a
hmm.
key component to help with mental health. It's just that we have not made the connection that, for the longest time, mental health, that was your problem. It was not real. You
Oh,
don't really have a
interesting.
mental health problem. You're just not dealing with life. You know what I mean?
Yes,
It's
yes,
fake.
yes.
It was
It's
a
your
fake.
it's you.
You're
Yeah.
sensitive, you're difficult, you're whatever, you're high maintenance.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
we're realizing that no, it is real. And to be healthy, you need to have a strong mental health. And we keep talking about longevity. But longevity, if it's mental health, so that's the connection we also need to do more and more. The same way, when we talk about veterans, well, you and I, we might not have been in wars, but we're veterans of life.
Oh,
You
yeah,
have
for sure.
trauma, I have trauma, but I think deserve as well to be taken care of.
Yeah.
So all this conversation, I think, bring us closer and closer to wider access of psilocybin as an example, yeah, for healing.
Yeah, for healing. And,
Yeah.
this you touched on a point that I've been really it's kinda like one of the drums I like to beat typically, typically I like to beat this drum, which is mental health. If we can
Mhm.
help somebody's in the mental health and help them, get to a great place, the physical health is greatly impacted. So for like employers, I'm pleading with employers,
Exactly.
take care of mental health because it's financially really, it's like might be the best benefit you can do. Like as far as cost, the ROI on
Exactly.
sorting out, like having a really good work environment, and not just the individual, but the team and the environment together and creating that space. Holy cow, your
Yeah.
medical bills, people will, you won't have absenteeism like you do.
Exactly.
You won't have retention issues. You won't have, meetings with HR because this person wore too much perfume and this person, didn't shave that. Well, who knows what
Yeah.
HR
Yeah.
deals with, the most mind boggling
Yeah.
stuff, but it's really just about people getting along and
Exactly.
and and being, not like being children and going to mom. And I think if you're in a good place mentally and you're happy, like you said, like you're happy and you're feeling good about yourself and you don't have that anxiety, depression, you're not going to get a heart attack. You're not going to get a cold. You're not going to get cancer. I mean, who knows at a
Exactly.
cellular level,
Yeah.
depression and anxiety can really destroy a cell, and that
Well, listen,
creates cancer.
stress has been proven to be one of the worst accelerant when it comes to early death.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Whatever the
so
cause, right? Whatever the
ex-
cause.
whatever the cause. So the other way around, if you remove the stress, well, it means that you won't have this problem. So it's
Yeah.
more, and it's the challenge that we don't have a healthcare system. We have a illness management system.
Yeah. We're really good at that.
So it's not about prevention. It's not about promotion. There's not a lot of
Mm,
money to make there. The money is better in not even curing, managing. Managing is ideal because you're recurring revenue for 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
I
Oh,
know.
you have high blood pressure. Let me give you that medication you're going to take every day. Oh, and it's going to create a challenge with your liver. Great. Let me give you that other medication. So that's fantastic. Now you're taking 25 pill a day. You're a great client. So
And
I
actually, the bad part in America, I don't know Canada's system, but in America, the doctor is earning money from the drug companies for that.
So today, there was an article actually in Canada showing that at least 10% of the drugs prescribed have been actually coming from this support program, from big pharma where they kind of sponsor. So no, it is the same thing. Trust me, it's the same thing. So in Europe, as always, more regulation, but also less
Yeah.
of that.
Yes.
So
Yeah. A
yeah,
little bit less. Yeah. Europe does seem to have a lot of that stuff really well policed, if you
a
will.
bit a bit better, a bit better.
A,
It's like
a,
the food is better quality,
the
like
food,
so,
especially. Yeah.
and that is also part of a prevention and promotion. If you're giving people ultra processed food with chemicals in the water, all that stuff, well, of course they're gonna get sick.
Yeah. This
So
is
it's multiple things, multiple things. Yeah,
a whole nother podcast on
I know, I
the
know,
food industry, big food, right? Big food is a
exactly.
whole nother show. I could do a
I know,
whole,
I know, I know.
I would stand on that stand and really start shouting out on my soapbox.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
especially after traveling around some parts of the country here, we have what's called, been labeled as food deserts. And it's where you have parts of the community, and it's going to be black, it's going to be poor areas, Hispanic, it's going to be immigrants, and there's no grocery store around,
oh
no
yeah,
proper grocery store for
yeah,
miles.
yeah, yeah,
No Uber's going to come get you,
yeah,
no
yeah,
chance. The buses probably are, not that great. That they
yeah,
go to the city, they go to take you to work, but not to go shopping.
yeah,
And you can have any type of the 5 franchise fast food companies that are in your neighborhood, you
yeah.
know?
I know. I know. It's I was in Miami 2 weeks ago. I was speaking at a conference on psychedelics, and in front of my hotel there was this very cute fast food, like not one of the big franchise.
Okay.
And anyway, I looked at it because it was pretty, just in front of my hotel. Don't pay really attention. I go to one of the drugstore nearby to buy a bottle of water. $3, $3 for like still water. Okay. I come back and I look at, again, that cute little fast food, but at this big advertising for $5, you had a Coke, a burger, and fries. What are you going to do? Like, especially if financially, obviously, you don't have a
Yeah.
lot of means. A bottle of water or eating and
And you
drinking
spent $3 for the water.
for
And you could
water.
have got for $2 more, you could have got a meal. For
Exactly.
sure. That's for people. If you're feeding a family, I mean, this is not a
Ah,
difficult. It's not a difficult choice, right?
that's the only choice.
It's the only choice. Yeah. And again, food is also a huge impact, I think, to mental health and the outcomes.
Exactly.
I think the
Exactly.
food we eat has got a massive impact on our mood, even.
Exactly. It is absolutely connected. If your
Yeah.
brain is clogged with chemicals from ultra processed food, your mental health's not going to be great. And then people are like, well, you're not doing very good on standardized tests. Well,
Yeah. That's my favorite. You're not doing
you
well. Well, if I had a standard of living that was standard.
I will probably do better. So it's that poverty trap as well. So that's why I'm
Hmm.
so adamant that microdosing psilocybin would be very helpful in so many conditions, because and for a price that is extremely reasonable, and
I
that's,
love them.
yeah, that's really
Yeah, I love
something.
the pricing model.
Yeah,
And
there is no choice. If you want everyone to feel better and be better and be more conscious, focus better, have a better mental health. I mean, imagine if we were able to give that in gel,
mm,
like, I
oh
mean,
my God,
there's,
could you imagine?
I know, I so many applications. I mean, it's just, yeah, I'm
I
very
never thought
excited.
about that.
Oh,
Very
yeah,
cool in jail,
yeah,
right? That would
yeah,
change a lot of people,
yeah,
get you
yeah.
out of that little system and that little ecosystem you're
Exactly.
in, give
Exactly.
you a bigger
Exactly.
view of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
How do people find your one book is out now already, right? And you've got another book
So,
coming out
so
or not out
actually,
yet?
my one book is on Amazon pre-order right now, or Barnes and
Okay.
Nobles. If you're a Barnes and Nobles person, it's called The Microdose Diet. It's gonna get out in May. You
Okay.
can find me very simply. You put the website on
Yes.
themicrodosediet.com, so you can find all the information. You obviously can find me on socials like everyone else.
Mm.
So it's pretty easy to find me. If you type themicrodosediet.com, you're gonna find me one
Yes.
way or the other.
Yeah, and your website's great, I have to say. I
Thank
went,
you.
go through the website and I'm kinda a little vigilant, kinda clicking around trying to get some information and understand better. Um, Very well put together. I just, comment on the side. So
Thank
if you're listening on this on the audio on, iTunes or Spotify or et cetera, the microdosediet.com, and
Yeah,
you can just Google that, and you'll find Peggy.
yeah.
Um and a lot of your writings and everything else, you've got a blog on there. I love you've got a podcast going where you talk. I think your podcast is cool too, 16, 15 minutes, even better than mine. I love that. Just 15 minutes and you're done.
Yeah, but with an
So
interview, I do interviews and they're all going way longer than that. It's very difficult to keep
okay, on the
to
interviews,
keep an
okay.
interview. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. It makes me feel a little bit better. Um, any other thoughts, Peggy, you wanna share? Anything else you wanna kinda share with the audience?
Just a couple of messages we discussed already. Really, this idea
Mm,
that if you want to microdose, make sure you have premium
yes.
products to do so. Products are not that expensive. You can go on my website, put yourself on the wait list. We're
Mm.
shipping USA, Canada, discreetly.
Oh,
So you can do that. I really want to put the emphasis on that. Keep in mind again, mental health equal
yes.
longevity. And last but not least, it's really this idea that if you decide to microdose psilocybin or another substance,
Mhm.
psychedelics, combine it with other tools. You're going to see
Yes.
greater results. So that's my three takeaways for tonight or this morning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I always say morning, just because then I don't know where my guest is, and I've
Exactly.
actually that was something I carried over from my corporate life. I would come into people and meet people, and I just good morning was always just such a better greeting than good evening seems like
Yeah,
a kind of a downward trend thought,
exactly.
and good morning is
Exactly.
like an uplifting kind of a thing. So I've always been a
Exactly.
good morning person. I really do agree with you on the combining of things, and my own personal experience says that just doing the one does not make a difference. And I've found a lot of really good success with breathing, with the mindfulness and intentionality, and just
Yeah.
thinking about thinking about the outcomes that I'd like to have in certain situations, focusing on the outcome I'd like. Some simple breathing for just
Exactly.
about a minute, almost even a
Exactly.
minute and a half, and
Yeah.
man, my whole body just calms right down, and I get back in line.
Yeah.
And if you've got some therapeutics like psilocybin to help you kind of expand your mind as well in between those sessions, great stuff.
Yeah.
Peggy,
Absolutely.
thanks so much for being a guest, taking time out of your evening.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
everybody for listening, supporting mental health today. Please do share the episode, and most importantly, is we're really hunting for more reviews for people that do get over there and listen. We've got we've got a good 50 to 100 listeners on a regular basis that kind of poke around the episodes. So we'd like to get up to a good 25, 30 reviews, and we got quite a few going. It's really kind of coming along. This is a fun podcast to do because I get so many interesting people like you, Peggy, on and I get to share that with an audience. So while giving you a platform.
Yeah. Thank you so much
Yeah.
again for the invitation and for your work, Ken.
Yeah. Thank you, Peggy. Again, thanks everybody. And Peggy, hang on. I'll see you on the other side in 30 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah, loose, baby.
But we're about to go and make this vessel with these great professionals at Public Glass. We're not part of the community, but we're from the outer family of glass blowing. Yeah, we're going to go make a magical giant jar with optic lenses so that if you turn it, it changes all the time. So if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change.